Hello and welcome back to TED Talks Truth and Reality about the fault isn't in the stars, it is actually hidden inside each of us. This has been the general or central or main focus theme I have been trying to isolate and concentrate on since the very beginning of these Truth Talks. I have been trying to inspire or motivate you, the individual, a person alone in their own vision or eyes to the world or eyes to the reality of things going on outside them. And I have been trying to reach inside you to turn on that little, small, still voice that's been drowned out by all the noise and chatter and clatter of the falsehoods and deceits and distrust and disappointments and destruction of humanity. It all boils down to a struggle between right and wrong, good and bad, good and evil, selfish, selfless. It is a balancing act between those two extremes, just like it is a balancing act between the physical world we live in and the spiritual world we hope and think and some have faith exists. Why have faith that that spiritual world exists? I may disagree with your interpretation or your explanation or the special interest group you belong to, but I do recognize that you, just as well as me or anyone else, is so unique, so special, so different than any other person that the only way we could ever see eye to eye is to agree on the spiritual truth of the situation faced or at issue at this moment in time, because that's all we have is the past, the present where we're trying to function and operate, and the future which we hope will be much better than what we're experiencing right now. I have the hope and I have the faith that that is the situation with reality. But most of us interpret reality from our own personal perch, our own personal perspective, from our own collection of thoughts and ideas and experiences and mistakes and disappointments. And a lot of us give up, a lot of us stop, a lot of us see that there is no rhyme or reason or true meaning and purpose for existence. I am here to tell you there is. Each single one of you out there that happen to see and hear these words, you are special, you are unique. The Creator developed each of us for a purpose, and it's a good purpose as long as it's in alignment with the creative forces or spiritual forces or the truth that is real and actual reality. All of us fail to see everything in existence today is simply the accumulation of thoughts and ideas and acts and deeds of people in the past. The history that happens to be the history we're studying right now, and many want to rewrite history. I'm a history major. I'm a history enthusiast. I'm also a political nut. I watch too many hours of Fox News. Everybody goes, ooh, why you watch Fox News? It's closer to truth and reality than the other media outlets. They have a inherent bias because they are the results or the manifestation of the focus that I'm trying to get you to pick up on, and that is selfism. It is a plague, it is a disease, it is a whatever you want to call it in physical words, but what it is a remnant of that physical primitive world that we evolved from. And yes, we did evolve. I don't want to disappoint creationists because they have a right to their belief. But being a historian, there's no way that anyone could go back and say that, I believe it's October 26 at 9:30 a.m., 4006 or 7 BC, the world began. Anyone in their right mind and with any common sense knows that to be true. So I sort of lean towards the evolutionary belief, but I also believe it's been a divine guidance of that evolution. So God still exists, the Creator still exists in evolution. It just depends on where you're coming from and your point of view. You probably have been influenced since day one because we are the results of our birth, our education, and our eventual passing. So many in that interim don't get the proper education. Many of the black community hold the white community at fault. But I am here to tell you everything, no matter where you are, your position, condition in life, is your self-responsibility to take care of. You can't deny that America isn't the best and maybe the last opportunity for the world to see an example of what could be done if it's done right. We have been doing it wrong for the last 50 years. We have allowed self and selfism, the me reality, the tiny perspective of what's around you, and you think that's important, or that shiny object, or that big house, or that big car is more important than helping those less fortunate. Well, that's what we've become. I'm watching my wife's favorite nighttime program, E, and she loves to watch to see what's going on in the celebrity world, and she likes to see what they're wearing, and this is what everyone, I realize everyone's that way. They look to the grass being greener on the other side. They look to the things they don't have instead of the things they do have. They have a mind, they are alive, and the choice to do the right thing for themselves and for others. That has been my goal since the beginning. And somehow I got off track. I got caught up in thinking, well, they say you got to do it this way, and they say you got to do it that way, and they say you got to follow the social media. So that's how I ended up on YouTube. I saw all these little cats playing piano and kids bopping each other on the head and weird things happening, and I said, oh, they got 10 million viewers. That is how I can get this truth out to the people. So I thought, well, who most thinks in line with me? I said, well, it's religious people, it's traditional people, it's people that lean more center right than left and extreme left and way out there left, and there's way out there right too. You see it during the elections coming up. And so I said, well, let me get the word out through the Tweeterverse to those people I thought might understand what I'm talking about. Freedom, freedom of choice, freedom to be your own person. And I tweeted out, I don't know, thousands. And I got a few hundred followers. And I got a few, I think 11 subscribers. I don't know why I thought I'd suddenly become a PewDiePie or a Smoosh or a Jenna Marbles or a Fine Brothers or any of those escape YouTube hits that young people jump on to escape reality. Well, I am going to be on YouTube asking you to get involved in reality. I'm going to ask you to become more conscious of who you are and why you are the person you are. I believe someone says where you are is where you are. Well, that is so true. Where the hell else could you be? And that would be my answer to those who would ask me that question. Now, they say now. Well, what's the now moment? Well, it's the present moment. Any fool would know that. So there's people making a living out there talking about a word or two or three or four. And they get a following of people that say, oh, this is the way you do it. You must bow down 5 times a day, I don't know, to whatever direction. And you must go here to receive the sacraments, or God won't like you. Well, I'm here to tell you that God, the Creator, loves everybody, because everybody starts on the same equal footing. They're given life, and what they do with that life is determined by their choices, circumstances, chance. I found out that if you have a greater hope for goodness and a faith that the good thing is going to happen, it helps you avoid the mistakes that Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman and this Michael Brown and Darren Wilson thing in Ferguson, which is a good indication of how a herd-minded, collective, unconscious group can join behind wrong thinking. All the evidence that comes out right now sort of vindicates the police officer, but there are those same, I don't know what to call them, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, Cornel West, and I'm sure there's a lot of other ones. Those are the only ones that really come to mind, that drive the flames of hatred and division. They're supposed to be religious, righteous followers of God. God's only commandment is, do no harm to others as you love yourself, and listen to me, or listen to it, because I'm going to be in conflict with a lot of the Christian people in saying that God is not a he. God is not a person that sits up behind some fence and has guys at the door saying you can come and you can't come, and on some pearly throne with a white beard. But there are people out there that believe that, and there's nothing I can say that would change their minds. Those are the closed-minded, unconscious, blind, selfish, introspective, me-first people that I talk about in my book, Slow Down and Love. And I might as well get to the point. I started this endeavor, if you'd listened to my other 27 talks, but not too many did. My goal was to, in writing that book, to help my children 40 years ago when I started it, and a little bit of self-enlightenment cracked through me, to me, and I saw some light, and I saw that light led to the fact that you had to be true and truthful with yourself at all times, which means you had to be happy with yourself. You had to be comfortable with yourself. And once you were that type of person, comfortable and happy with yourself, it became easy to be truthful. It became easy to talk in a flowing way and not worrying about what lie or deception I had said in the past, because I cleaned that slate once I decided to forgive myself. And that's what I want you to do in the course of our lessons together, because I'm still learning, and I do want you eventually to get my book. It's at my website, tedtorok.com, but and I donate $1 from each one of my ebooks from that site to the Wounded Warriors, because they, our Wounded Warriors and our American veterans, have fought the battle for our freedom, for us to be the fools and loons and nut jobs that operate between the Atlantic and Pacific and Canada and Mexico. And what's wrong now is the government currently doesn't understand that we were unique. Why do we want to be a third world country? Why do we want to drop down to mediocrity? Why do we want to be less than we were? Because we really are a lot less than we were when I was a kid growing up. I'm 71. I've made tons and tons of mistakes. I reveal all that in my book. And the reason I wrote the book, as I mentioned earlier, it is difficult in a sentence, a word, or a song, or a painting, or a movie, or anything like that to get the real word across to what you're trying to impress upon the people that you're addressing your situation to. And I realized a long time ago when I had my self-enlightenment, man, my problem's going to be I hate to write. How am I going to write a book? And I put it off and put it off and put it off and put it off. And I explain all that in the course of the actual book. And I actually explained the fact that in 2 years ago, I was well, actually a little bit longer than that. I'm watching Glenn Beck, and he's saying that people need to keep in mind the loss of the little 9-year-old girl, Christian Taylor Green, who was murdered by a nut job when he tried to, who knows, but actually kill Congressman Gabby Giffords, and we know all that. But Glenn said we shouldn't allow that little girl's death to be in vain, and it motivated me to the point where I said, man, I've been procrastinating writing this thing for so long. I need to go dust off my legal pads that I wrote down while I was serving a 23 month, it seems like 20, but 23 months sentence for making a bad decision 40 years ago. And I explain all that in the book. And so I'm not hiding anything. I am trying to get you to see my bona fides, and my declaration of intentions are simply and purely and honestly and truthfully trying to get you to become motivated to get up off your butt and change just a little bit. I'm not saying you got to, bow down, jump up, and, kiss this. And I'm saying all you have to do is slow down, smile a little bit more, grin and bear the affronting issue that's in your life right now. Forgive yourself so you can forgive others, because when you forgive yourself, you see that your past is nothing but a collection of right decisions and wrong decisions. You should identify the right ones, and you should try to correct the wrong ones. And how you do that is say, well, I'm going to forget about them in this respect. They're going to be snapshots and memories in my mind, but they will not affect me emotionally ever again. I will look them as they are, an object of the past. Reality is the moment we're in right now. And once you can face the fact that truth, light, the way, all the things that we've heard from our Western philosophies is a right direction for you to follow. That's what it means. It doesn't mean, boom, there's a big bright light and you're instantly saved. Though I do explain an epiphany that I had, but it was drug related. It wasn't, but it led me in the right direction because I was making a mistake. And once I corrected that and saw goodness in the results of that moment, I became a better person and back on the right path, following the light of truth. And the light of truth is simply trying to be more truthful in your day-to-day, second-to-second living. And that is the now, the present, all those metaphysical things that are going around and down. That's it. It's just simply that. You're alive right now. That breath is reality. The truth is what my heart and mind is trying to tell you right now. And that is, I honestly think that, as I started to mention, that the wounded warriors, all our American veterans, all our police officers, all our first responders, all our school teachers, all those people who are trying to do good, are getting the short end of the stick. And that's the reason so much of the middle class is upset. They see this upper class that has always been there. Now, don't try and fool yourself. It was worse once upon a time. The king and his vassals and feudal lords controlled everything, and everyone was a slave. So this fact that, the black community is holding the white community responsible for them being slaves. Look at history. Blacks captured blacks, sold them to the Muslims, who sold them to the greedy white people, who brought them to America, and the first slavery sale in America was a black man buying a black man. So when you look at history for what it really is, it changes the truth and the reality of the moment, but you don't hear that. The Progressive Party, which for the last 100 years is trying to remold and reshape history in an image that suits them best, which isn't the truth, because it doesn't satisfy the actual, real truth of the moment. All the signers of the original founding documents were very religious, God-fearing men. You don't hear that. They negate that by putting up distractions and smoke screens and allowing battles to go on between there's nearly 40,000 denominations of Christianity. It's the division out there that is keeping people from coming together. My story, my book, brings people together because it puts the responsibility on the individual. It is up to us, each of us, to view the world through better lenses, more honest, more transparent, more truthful, more loving. And this is, like I said, the general tone and vibration of my story. And there's plenty of stories out there. There's plenty of good people out there. There's been zillions of them through history, and a lot of them have been shunned and crucified and condemned. They were simply trying to tell you this same story. I mean, it was summed up in the Golden Rule. And it's funny, in the previous statements, I looked at them and I said, well, which ones were the God discussion and the happiness discussion oddly got the most views. So Jesus tried to tell us in the Golden Rule to love self, love God, love others. That is the bottom line. So slow down, love yourself, love God, and you automatically love others, I found out. But there's that drip, drip, drip noise, three-card Monty, deception, bait and switch, lie, deceit, distrust, mistrust throughout our society. It focuses on the top because the government is so corrupt, and it is. I agree with everybody that has a gripe, because it's possible to see a gripe from every point of view on our land here in America, because everyone has an experience that they're confronted by the system, and the system is so large that you can't help but get entangled up in it. Just like I'm running through my battles now with the tax people and the banks, because in the last 6 years under President Obama, our economy has dropped and fallen apart so much that my property values have cut in half. The banks, which traditionally all my life said, we will always lend you based on your equity. Well, my equity was $1.1 million. Now they say it's only down to $700,000. I've lost, $400,000 in the last 6 years. Now the bank's saying, well, we can't lend you what we used to lend on that equity, and that would get me out of my troubles right now. But everything's upside down, screwed up. Like they say, they had a survey said that I don't know, 75% of America thinks we're going to hell in a handbasket. Well, hell is the moment you're living in, and you're facing the pain and the suffering that each individual, I don't care who you are, the president has his problems. He was proven to be self-addictive a long time ago. I smoked pot. I know why. I analyze it. He did too, and I know it had to have an effect on him, because he's no different than me. It sure as hell affected me time and again. I did blow. He's done and admitted in his books that he did cocaine, and he might have done some other drugs, might not admit it, but anyone that has experienced booze, alcoholics by that, or a drug addict, or even those who, like myself, went through the phases of growing up and encountering people and friends who said, "Here, try this," and you did, and anyone that has done certain drugs, they don't do it because it hurts them. They do it because it adjusts their attitude. It actually means maybe they're not happy with themselves. I don't know. That's for better people than me. I just know that if you adopt the philosophy of trying to do no harm through your thoughts and through your deeds, then you're on the right page, because that's what creation, that's what the Creator does. That's the number one law in the universe. There's an equal and opposite reaction. So if you do harm, better duck, something's coming back. And there's also a law that energy is never lost. It is just transferred into some other shape. So on the good side, we are a form of energy. So when lights go out in the physical form, maybe they do go on in the spiritual form. I haven't seen the light yet, or had the epiphany, or had the saint or the angel come to me yet to confirm that. I have good positive beliefs, because I believe this beyond a shadow of doubt, that if you aspire to be a good person now in this moment in time, then a good thought would be, maybe that'll continue after I no longer walk this planet Earth. And maybe I become something in that universe that, unless you've been to a planetarium, you can't begin to imagine, or unless you watch the series Cosmos. We are so infinitesimal in the grand scheme of things, that the only way you find the rhyme and reason of existing is by finding yourself. You become a object in a subjective sort of environment out there where everything is subject to chance. But when you objectify and stop and look at things, you see these things taking place. A lot of those things in the universe are forced in the directions they have to go. That is the free will that you have. You can choose to go in whatever direction you want. And in ending today's talk, and I'll get into a little bit more detail on, and that's our next discussion, is how you can rid yourself of evil, hate, doubt, fear, shame, guilt, by self-enlightenment. And my journey will shine the light on how you can eliminate those evil thoughts, evil deeds that all of us have done. So until we meet again, Godspeed.